Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, if you're new to the show, these sponsors are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for your kids, your coaches, even teachers. How about parents and sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school. Tremendous success, and so will you. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is the official administration and information management platform for a number of states, including Florida. And their suite of solutions, including scheduling, rosters, communication, is just incredible. But their athletic clearance and eligibility platform is the best. To get signed up, just go to homecampus.com. You can do it as an individual school. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru for your school. Gipper's used and trusted by thousands and thousands of schools, and it's an all-in-one content creation platform. Whether it's a small social media post to celebrate a win or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your program's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Go to Gipper.com. You're going to be glad you did. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, it's probably the best purchase I ever made as an AD. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. You've got a lot of choices if you're looking for a master's degree, but make sure you go to one like Ohio University. That is totally online. It's very reasonable, just 20 months. And while you're earning your master's degree, which is one of the most coveted ones in education, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to Ohio University and check out their online master's degree in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their solutions in things like digital ticketing, athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a lot more. Whether you're an AD, a principal, or even a head coach, Hometown is going to help you save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. That's hometown.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys. You know, ADs already get a lot of feedback, but many times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will put you in touch with that group so you can hear their concerns, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data in your hands is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We've got somebody I like to call a friend of the show back on, Zack Clark. Zack is a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics for Central Decatur Middle and High School. That's obviously in Iowa. Zack was on the show, I'm going to say a few weeks ago, several weeks ago, as part of our K-12 Sports Tech AD think tank. Thought he'd be a great guest, so here we are. Zack Clark, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here this morning.
Okay. Well, Zack, as you know, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Zack Clark origin story?
I grew up in the community that I now reside and teach in. So I was born in Decatur at the Decatur County Hospital and grew up in Leon and went to Central Decatur for all 13 years of school and graduated from here in 2000. My parents were both educators. My dad retired after 41 years of service to Central Decatur. He was actually the AD for 30 years before me. So it was an easy hire. They just saved money on not having to change the name on the door. And he was a part-time biology too. So I got to interact with him in the biology classroom, which some days was great, some days was not so great. My mom is a still teaching. She just turned 73 in March. She's in her 46th year at Central Decatur. She's just the motor that makes everything go. She teaches middle school reading and middle school special ed. So I actually had my mom in middle school for health, which could be a little traumatic in front of your buddies, but we survived. And I graduated from here in 2000, went to Iowa State. Um, Graduated from Iowa State in 2004 with a degree in history, like a history education to be a history teacher. So that's kind of growing up, I played football and basketball were probably my two biggest loves. Played baseball in high school for a couple of years, played golf, really enjoyed golf. Um, Wish I would have probably spent more time in the weight room. That's what I try to tell people now, but you kind of sometimes those things you figure out after high school.
Yeah.
So had a great experience here. It's a great opportunity to be back here, and I'm walking along the hallways with the kids of parents that I grew up with and have long time relationships with. So you can sometimes that makes things a little money, but more often than not, it makes things a little bit easier to deal with. We have just a built-in and developed trust from years and years of relationships. So
Well, I just love hearing the stories. Shout out to both your mom and dad. Your dad, I did 41 years too, so something magic about that number. And your mom is still going. That is so cool. Our kids, growing up, our three kids had the fortune or misfortune of going to the same school where their mom and dad both worked. And our son had his mom, my wife, for a health teacher, as a ninth grader. So again, that was, I know just what you're talking about there. Let's talk about you. Growing up, I'm going to guess it was kind of a small town vibe. Was it backyard football games and driveway basketball? What are some of your memories of those days?
yeah, that's exactly what it was. You get on your bike and I actually grew up right next to the elementary school. The elementary school was right next to my house, and across the street down the hill was the pool, an outdoor basketball court, and the little league field. So we stayed really busy. You could play football on the big playground of the elementary school, then you could head down and go swimming, play basketball all day long and play, get on the little league field and have home run derbies and all that stuff. And it was right there kind of within the block. And we'd come and go on our bikes and raid somebody's fridge for lunch and then be off kind of doing the same thing. And when we got into middle school and we were playing baseball in the mornings in the summer, we would do that. And then everyone would get home and get on their bikes and get to the pools and go run around some more. So it was just find your own fun. No one was doing anything for you or setting up any play dates or organizing. You just went out and did your thing, and your parents hoped that you were doing it safely and intelligently, and then you come home and grab dinner at the end of the night, or end up back at the ball fields because you're with your dad who was and mom who are coaching or supervising games. So
Right. It, you just make me have all these flashbacks. I just talked about this on another interview. I'm a little bit older than you, probably a lot older than you. But yeah, riding your bike was everything. Hanging out with your friends. You were gone all day long. And my guest on the podcast said, you were playing, football on the high school field or the playground field. Your parents weren't out there watching your every move. They didn't even know you were out playing football. And
yeah.
now it's the kids are being watched when they're 4 and 5 years old at t-ball, and parents are yelling at them and yelling at coaches. It's a world gone mad. So moving into your high school days, you mentioned football and basketball were your two big ones. Um, any memories stand out? Game memories, practice memories, interaction with coaches. What sort of moments can you share with us?
I think, football wise, we just, we weren't horrible. We weren't great. We're kind of in the middle. But we just a lot of time with each other. I cherish all those memories and the friendships that were built then that are still going strong today. I mean, my closest friend in high school is still my closest friend today, and our kids are his middle boy and my older boy are teammates and everything. They're in the same class and grade. So just those kind of memories. I know my high school basketball memory that sticks in my craw the most is we were up by two with 3 seconds left, and I was taking the ball out underneath our own basket trying to get it in so we could get fouled, and it got tipped, and one of their other team's players grabbed it and then got fouled shooting, and they made two free throws and then beat us in overtime. So that one kind of sticks with me quite a bit. I wish I could get over that a little bit more, but I can't. All the,
Do your buddies
26
remind
years
you of
later.
that game when you get
No,
together?
they don't because they can't remember anything. I'm blessed with the best memory easily of the whole group,
Yeah.
and they know that. So um, I know that they don't remember stuff quite like I do. Um, so yeah, I've got vivid memories of basically all those competitions. I can still remember games my junior senior year of high school football vividly, things that happened. So I have to remind them of them, like when people are like, "Oh yeah, we were this," I'm like, "Okay, let's slow down. We made some mistakes too." Um, so yeah, just memories like that. I just think the memories, the time spent with each other, and just some of the funny stuff that happened, at practice or on the bus ride. I was a junior in high school, and a freshman puked on another freshman, and that freshman puked out the window of a 3-hour bus ride home, and the windows were down, and all our windows were down. Thank God the kid with the tallest, curliest hair on the team was sitting right in front of me. So all the stuff that was coming back in the window went right in his hair, and I didn't get hit with any of it. But so, just goofy stuff like that. That's kind of way outside the wins and losses and things like that.
It's part of those great experiences that come with sports. Moving on to college, was it always in your plan? Again, your mom and dad were teachers. Your dad was the AD. Was it always kind of your plan to become a teacher coach, or did that seed start growing in college?
It actually, it was when I was at college. When I was in my senior year of high school, I was sure that the one thing I was not going to do was be in education. I was pretty sure of that going into my senior year. And I think somewhere towards the end of my senior year, I started to think differently about it. But when I went to Iowa State, um, I was like in the business track. So like I was in this business, my first semester, I was in this business learning team stuff. And I was like, wait, I'm not doing this. I had changed my major over that summer, but I was still involved in some of this stuff. So, I mean, that was a little different experience that first semester. But from the time I stepped foot on Iowa State's campus, I knew what I wanted to do. Um, I wanted to teach history, and then later on in my educational career, I only taught history for 1 year, and then I switched to special ed, and I've never left it, and I love it so much. So yeah, I started when I was at Iowa State. I got my coaching authorization so I could coach middle school baseball at home that summer after my sophomore year. I got it in the fall of my sophomore year. And then a middle school basketball job opened up at a school about 10 miles from Iowa State, Ballard of Huxley. And I ended up coaching middle school basketball there. And it was just kind of my start. It led that job there led to a lifetime of relationships. So and and I actually went back there to teach later on. So I got my coaching start right away at Iowa State. So
And that's kind of how it happens for a lot of us. I remember having a very similar experience as an undergrad, and wow, you get paid for this? This is pretty cool. Let's go and take our first break. Our guest today is Zack Clark. He's a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Decatur Central Middle School and High School. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different sports, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen, that's right, touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches, teachers. How about alums and sponsors? You got to see it to believe it. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Zack Clark. He's the Director of Athletics at Central Decatur Middle and High School. Zack, you were sharing your middle school coaching experience as an undergrad student. Take us on the rest of your journey that's now brought you back to your own high school, your alma mater, Central Decatur.
yeah, so I was a middle school basketball coach at Ballard while I was at Iowa State, and then I actually after I graduated Iowa State, I didn't go looking for a job right away, much to my father's dismay. I spent a year living in Huxley and just being a substitute teacher, coaching basketball and also adding, football. So I coached middle school basketball, middle school football, and then helped with the high school teams as much as humanly possible because that experience there, what I learned as a coach there from a X's and O's standpoints and from a running practices program standpoint was invaluable. So I spent a year there, and then I got a job as a middle school social studies teacher in Red Oak, Iowa, which is southwest Iowa. I'm south central now, but so it's southwest Iowa, farther southwest. I guess we're considered southwest too, but middle school social studies. I went down there and I coached middle school football, and I was I was a freshman boys basketball coach and a middle school girls track coach. And then after a year of coaching social studies, this is a weird way to get into it. I don't know if this is going to sound great or not, but as a freshman boys basketball coach and coming from Ballard's program, I had a very high expectation for how things operated and just how they ran based on my experience with Ballard's coach Chris Deason and what things were supposed to look like. And when I got to Red Oak, I didn't feel like their head coach had any clue of how to do that. And here I am, the new freshman boys coach. So I didn't spend much time around. We just didn't hit it off from the start. And and he didn't have a whole lot of friends there either. And so towards the end of the year, he had gotten another job, but since he was a special education teacher, they weren't going to let him out of his contract because it's so hard to fill. So the superintendent actually knew of our frosty relationship and called me in and said, "Hey, this is going on for him. If you'll move to special ed, we'll let him out of his contract." And I said, "Sure, let's do it. I'll move to special ed right now." And so I did that. And then something else happened where they had another special education teacher leave, but she was leaving education, so they couldn't hold her to the contract. So then they didn't end up letting him out of the contract. So instead of us being in opposite buildings and not really having to see each other, we were right across the hall from each other in the same department. So yeah, that was an interesting start. So I actually moved that year. I moved over and was a assistant girls coach with a great head coach. And then the other assistant was a guy that I coached football with already at Red Oak. So that was a really good pairing. But so I moved into a self-contained special education classroom with 0 credits in special education. but a whole lot of life experience because my mom had taught special education. So I've been, exposed to that world a little bit, maybe not the paperwork side of it, but so self-contained, it was myself and a para, and we had 5 or 6 kids, and boy, we had a time. We tried to have fun every day. We tried to learn every day. Some days were better than others, but it was an incredible experience. So that at the end of my second year there, a special education job came open back at Ballard, and it was just a level one kind of job where I'd be co-teaching and having students in my room for some resource time. And so I made the move to go back to Ballard. And I had just bought a house in Red Oak, so that's not a real financially intelligent thing to do after 4 months, but it is what it is. So, because I had no intention of leaving until that popped up, and so I ended up back at Ballard, and this time I was assistant high school football coach and the JV basketball coach, um, and then teaching high school special ed. Spent 2 years there. I was the offensive coordinator for the varsity my second year, 2 years there, and then the opportunity to go back to Leon was kind of to Central Decatur was there to be the head boys basketball coach, and that had always been a dream of mine once I got into education of being the head boys basketball coach at Central Decatur because just of my time here already. So I came back without a job. I was just a sub for a year, knowing someone was in their last year as they were going to retire, and I'd be able to step into that position. So I came back, took over the boys basketball program, was an assistant football coach, um, down the road I helped with golf, but not right away. So I came back, with all these thoughts and ideas and everything, and I was going to take over the world, and kind of fell flat on my face with some stuff, and I kind of had to you know, realized I had to maybe attack things a little differently. And we had some great kids. Um, I wasn't coaching them probably. I would have coached them a ton different if I could have coached those guys in year 7 or 8 versus year one. Um, so if I wish I would have had a little bit more insight there when I started as the head coach, but figured things out and then had a pretty successful run. We won 3 conference championships in 4 years, won a district championship, lost in a game to go to the state tournament to the defending state champion and the team that would end up defending their title and winning it again. Um, so just we had a good run, and then in 2016, I became the AD when my dad retired and I ended up getting the job. I still kept coaching basketball. Coached it for 4 more years. I gave up basketball in 2020. Um, and I've just been the AD since then. I've coached like a middle school football season here or a middle school baseball season here just to fill in. But that's been that. And then actually, I was still in the classroom teaching special ed the time. And then 2 years ago, I became the special education coordinator as well. So I'm pre-K through 12 special education coordinator and then 7 through 12 activities director. So it's been that's unique. I think there used to be 2 of us in Iowa that did that. Now I think I'm the only one that has those 2 responsibilities together. And being a high school special education teacher my whole life, now as this I'm in a preschool early access meeting, and at the start I had no idea what they were talking about. So that was quite a learning curve to get back on to learn some of that while also doing the AD, filling the responsibilities of the activities director.
Wow. Again, I just love hearing the journey. Um, I'm trying to decide where I want to go with my next question. We've had a couple of EDs on that have had special ed. That was their classroom gig and their training. You mentioned you had no training, just the life experience. Um, what are some lessons that you learned working? And again, special ed that covers a wide range of people. But what were some lessons that you might have learned in the special ed environment that have helped you out, even as a head coach or as an AD?
I just the number one thing for me is the importance of inclusion and making every kid, every member of your program, just giving them something that they can feel good about and practice it and be comfortable with, and not comparing themselves across the board all the time. And I know that's sometimes hard in winning and losing of sports, but how are you getting to the kid that's your worst freshman? How are you getting and interacting with them at practice? And how are you versus how you're doing it with your all-star, right? Like so
Right.
like those those people might not get the same time dedicated to them during the live portion of the practice, right? But like during stretching or shooting or whatever, making sure you're checking in with that kid, like just the same as in my class, my special education classroom, making sure I'm getting every kid, seeing how their day's going, seeing what I can do to help them, meeting them. And I think another thing that came out, meeting kids, athletes where they are, meeting them where they are, and trying to bring them with you, I think is a lesson that I mean I'll always have. And just like I said, making sure everybody feels like they're a part of something. We don't want anybody walking around that lean into them. Don't let them distance themselves. Just keep leaning in and seeing if you can bring people along with you.
Right. No, great, great lessons. And you're absolutely right. Finding out a way to get those kids that they're not getting the playing time, but you want them to be just as passionate about their experience as the kids who are. So, and that's a great skill. This is somewhat related, I think. I heard this line the other day. I shared it with my wife because she's a Hall of Fame cross country coach. Cross country is the only sport where your worst kid gets the most playing time. Okay. It's just it's
Mhm.
true, but we got to figure out a way to balance those scales with other sports. Let's go and take a break. Our guest today is Zack Clark. He's the director of athletics for Central Decatur in Iowa. We're going to hear all about his Central Decatur experience, some of the best practices that he's really proud of. But let's take another break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school and our teams with great success, and so will you. Go to their website, snapraise.com. You can check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We'd also like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official sports administration and information platform for a number of states, including Florida. And their platform is one you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. For me, the athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone was the gold standard. And you can use Home Campus as an individual school. For more information, just go to homecampus.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast, homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Maybe it's a simple social media post to celebrate a big win by one of your teams. It can also be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your program's doing in the community. Either way, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. That's Gipper.com.
Jake, we've really liked our experience with Gipper. Yeah, I'm not a real creative soul visually or have the expertise of how to maneuver some of those things. So Gipper's been a great resource for me because I can get in there, find a graphic I think looks cool, and I've learned how to pull in the pictures and edit the text and the colors. So it's just from a time management standpoint, it's really good for me. And then our public really loves, they think when I'm honest with them about, yeah, I'm not really making those. This company makes them, and then I kind of edit them. Um, but they really love the graphics. So I love what Gipper provides for us and our activities department and helping celebrate our students.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And hey, you got to take credit for that. You're taking those templates, but again, they are so easy to use. And the return on investment, we talk about that for the amount of time you spend on those posts, the attaboys that you get from the community and the kids, great stuff. Thanks for sharing. For our listeners, Zack Clark is our guest today. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics for Central Decatur Middle High School, and that's in Iowa. Zach, you've shared your journey. Now, share a little bit about your school. And again, you went to high school there. You played on the team, so you've got a special connection. But um, what are some of the things about Central Decatur that make it special? And what are some things that you've done as the AD that you're really proud of?
I think everybody that knows Central Decatur, or the families that have their kids come here, and people in our community know that we all know that we weren't born on third base, so we got to hustle for everything we get, right? And we got to work, and nothing's going to be handed to us. Um, I kind of laugh sometimes that we kind of operate with a little. We get along with people well, but we kind of operate with a little chip on our shoulder sometimes because sometimes Southern Iowa is overlooked. So we kind of, we have to do what we can to get it for ourselves. And I'm just proud that we don't take anything for granted, and we just do what we can for the best of our kids all the time. So we got a whole bunch of people here that care in our community, and adults that care about providing our kids with the best opportunities we can give them. So like going into that, I kind of, when I looked at this notes, things I'm really proud of from the adult standpoint here, like the facilities. Our facilities are great. We have a beautiful football field and track complex. Our gym is great. Our baseball, softball field, the surfaces are great. We have some improvements to make on the fences and the lights. Um, but the surfaces are great, and the coaches take great care of the playing surface of those two fields. So I think that there's been a lot of time and effort spent into making sure our facilities are top notch for our kids, and make sure they get the same access to great facilities that maybe people in the suburban areas do. Um, One of the couple of things I'm really proud of just in my time here is that we kind of did a booster club revamp when I took over. It kind of went away a little bit towards the end of when my dad was the AD. So we kind of reinvented it and brought it back, and it's been incredible over the last 8 years. I think close to $200,000 they've pumped back into our kids to our programs here at Central Decatur. So that's just the athletic booster club part of it is significant. And then and I haven't been as involved in the performing arts booster club, but they've kind of started and are really starting to make a difference in some of those programs as well. So just those getting going and being successful, I think, is a huge help to our students and our programs. And then I just think every day we spend time, intentionally thinking and doing whatever we can to create opportunities for our students, whether that's, adding esports and girls wrestling to hit and include some people that maybe weren't involved in other activities, and now we've brought them in and engaged them in our school climate and culture a little bit more. Or just trying to run really efficient track meets, so we provide as much opportunity as possible for as many of our kids to get on the track as possible. Not, we want to get all the JV kids in too, and sometimes that's hard at track meets, just because of time and the events we host, and the opportunities we provide our kids, I think, are awesome. And across activities, whether it's the drama department or the opportunities they have through band and choir, or through our clubs, like our FFA club is incredible what they've built with their sponsors' leadership. We have a feedlot facility out by our bus barn with chickens, pigs, and a couple of cows, where they raise them and then they slaughter them. And like the two cows, Ed and Fred, provided prom dinner here a couple of years ago. So that's just all opportunities our kids get here at school that they are able to take with them wherever they go when they leave. And then from the other thing I'm really proud of with our kids, just from our kids' standpoint, our kids are so appreciative of what's the work that is put in to help to give them opportunities. They don't take anything for granted. There's no entitlement. I've been around places that the entitlement runs rampant, and there is none. They're willing to work for it, and they're so appreciative of what the work the adults in the community do for them. And then the next thing, they're willing to help with anything. Like if I grab kids out of study hall, or we've got track kids staying to help with youth track, or football kids helping with flag football, or whatever it is. We host the Special Olympics District basketball competition for this region, and we have all the basketball players show up on a Saturday morning and help run that competition, and for 85 Special Olympics athletes. And it's an incredible morning. It's my favorite day of the basketball season. And No one ever says no to me on that, right? If their schedule allows, they're there. And then just the way they're involved in everything. They're busy. They're in dance. They're in this season's sport. They're doing something for FFA or FCCLA or drama, or they're going to this contest, or they're just busy and they're involved and they're engaged, and it's just they're really really great to work with, and they've got ideas, and they know my office is doors open, and they care. And so I think I'm always willing to listen to them. So,
Boy, you're making me want to come there and start coaching for you. Um, you shared your career and you've painted a great picture of your school there at Central Decatur. So I'm putting you on the spot here. I had very much a similar background. I coached multiple sports, started middle school. I was coaching two or three sports at a time. That's just how it was back in my day. I'm glad to see that you had that same experience. Fast forward to 2025. How many of your coaches at Central Decatur are like what you and I did as coaches? They're the head basketball coach, but they're helping coach middle school football. They're the head baseball coach, but they're helping with soccer out of season. How many multi-sport coaches do you have?
I would say probably 50% of them are doing it in some rate.
That's
That's not as
great.
high as it
That is
used to
great.
be. I think I used to be like, right, 75, 80% of your coaches were coaching more than one. Um, but I would say like 50%. And what's also what I felt good about that 50% is just that trend of non-teacher coaches. We got a lot of people outside education coaching, and we do have that. We have more than we ever had when I was growing up, but they are still being involved in multi sports seasons. So they're still helping across the board. So, and I think it just helps them stay engaged to the school culture and climate. Like they don't just show up for 3 months in the fall, then you never see them again, right?
Right.
They're around all the time still. So I think that's still a positive, even though you've seen that trend a little bit. And I think utilizing some of our coaches like that are great because they have a different perspective on things. They're coming from a job where they're self-employed and they're running their own business, and they provide unique experience or insight to our students. That's when they're talking about things that are bigger than whatever sport that is, what their life and what their career and stuff looks like. They provide some really unique insight, and some of them our coaches have provided job opportunities for kids they've built relationships with when they leave Central Decatur. So I think that's been unique as well.
Again, that's also a great point. I think, given our choice, we'd love to have that teacher coach in the building, but the reality is these days, there's some great coaches out there that come to us from the community and bring some extra benefits as well. Zach, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more about how you run your program, or just want to add you to their network as a connection, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Probably to start would be by email. It's ZACH dot Clark, CLARK, and then it's just at centraldecatur.org.
Okay. Zack Clark, Central Decatur Middle School, High School. We're going to take another quick break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but we are going to come back. This is the Educational AD Podcast.
Okay.
We also want to say thanks to our very good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course. We also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are incredibly versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We'd also like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's degree from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while he was completing his master's degree, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for things like digital ticketing. Big surprise, they're still the number one digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges, but they also have fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a school principal, or even a head coach, Hometown makes it easy for you and your organization to save time, to raise more money, and to bring your entire community together. To find out more, just go to hometown.com. You're going to be glad you did. That's hometown.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Zach, we've mentioned a couple times that you're a certified master athletic administrator. That doesn't happen by accident. Share, if you can, your journey with your state association and with the NIAAA.
Yeah, so I knew the very first state I got hired at the end of February, so I went to the Iowa State Convention in the end of March officially for the first time in 2016. Now, with the caveat being, when I was a kid, that was a fun weekend when my dad was, the AD and going to the convention in Des Moines. I still remember the Hotel Fort Des Moines and being a kid. We just get to go play in the pool on Saturday and stuff, spend the night, and then mom would take us home. But that was my first introduction to the state conventions. But my first real one was in 2016. And I thought, I've never seen or been a part of an organization like this, just the support and the colleagues you're around and going to work with. I was so excited to become an AD in the state of Iowa. So at that time, I just jumped in, and I knew at some point I wanted to be a part of, serving that organization even more. So I think it was like 2020, I got the opportunity, thanks to Jeff Beeson at Glenwood and Aaron Gerlich, who is at Panorama, but is now the executive director of the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union, kind of pushed me into and brought me along with them to start the Southwest District Leadership Chairs. So I went through there, the secretary president and junior director, senior director, and I was able to serve on those leadership chairs and make a whole lot of connections and relationships and really have some great experience. And at that time, I also got my CAA, and I really studied. I was nervous about the test. I don't know why. And then studied my tail off for it, and it was fine. I would recommend everybody do that because it's a neat experience just to go through it. And so I knew that coming off my leadership chairs, I wanted to somehow serve the state, right? So my first opportunity, which is not connected to our ADs Association, but is unique. In Iowa, we're the only state with two activity organizations. The Iowa Girls High School Athletic Unions, governs the girls' athletics. The Iowa High School Athletic Association governs the male athletics. So I was lucky enough to be elected to the board of directors for the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union here a couple of years ago, and it's been an incredible experience. Just sitting in the boardroom, listening to the girls and union and the boys association staffs are incredible, and just getting to sit in the boardroom with joint board meetings or when we're on our own with the girls union, the way the staff works, and listen to how superintendents kind of digest information and attack issues and talk about things has been really good for me, because sometimes I move 150 miles per hour, and it's nice to take some time to process and think about and learn some things there. So that opportunity has been great. And then just to be able to be at the championships and wearing the pink shoes, handing out state championship trophies and medals and everything to state championship or state participating teams has been great. And then this year, I actually ran for the Iowa High School Athletic Directors Association second VP. So that allows you to run through the leadership chairs of the state organization, because I knew that's something I wanted to serve that great organization more. And I was lucky enough to be elected to that in March at our state convention. So, and then I guess prior to that in January, I finished my CMAA project and got that taken care of. And then I was elected in March, and I'm really excited. In charge of planning the 2026 state convention. And I think this is a great time to announce who my Saturday keynote speaker is, right?
Okay.
It's Jake. So he'll be kicking off the Iowa High School Athletic Directors Association state convention in March of 26 on Saturday afternoon. He's our guy to lead us off. So, but that's been my journey through the chairs, and it's been a great experience. And there's much more work to come, and I'm so excited about the people that I get to serve with, and the work that we're going to do together. It's going to be it's going to be work, a lot of work, but it's going to be an incredible experience. And I'm just excited to continue serving every way I can in the state of Iowa for all our great ADs.
Well, congratulations on on your new post, and again, thank you for the invitation to come to Iowa. Very much looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can help teach an LTI class, and we'll do a workshop too. But that's got to be cool for you to be in that leadership role. I know I enjoyed my time serving on the FIAAA board here in Florida. Um, Looking back at your LTI experience, you got the 500 classes, the entry level and all the legal stuff, as you move into, 600s and the 700s. Is there one class that you can pick out? I guess maybe to just showcase for our listeners, maybe it was more than you expected in a good way, or maybe in a bad way. It showed you some things you needed to do, or just one that you'd really recommend to somebody just getting started on their LTI journey.
Well, and I know I'm not gonna remember the numbers exactly how they match up, right? But there was a class on like student leadership that I
Mhm.
took that was really, really beneficial. I think it was a 700 level. Just for anyone walking into the legal classes, just get ready. It's going to scare the heck out of you, but it'll be okay. You need to take them. It's really, really good information. And I just think the opportunity to take them at the state convention, to take them at the national convention, do it everywhere. It's neat at the national convention because you're around different people. Um, it was an emergency preparedness,
Right.
one of those
Mhm.
classes, and I'm going to forget his name, but he was AD at a school district just north of New York City, and his first week on the job was September 4th, 2001. And then so he talks about of course, we know what happened a week later, but he just kind of talks to always having a plan for stuff and just reunificate, like just because they had kids that had parents involved in that day in New York in 9/11 in New York City. So, but he was really interesting to talk to. And I think that was a 600 level class. And then now I've actually even been able to teach a couple classes,
Yeah.
and it's really neat the journey, because one of the first classes I took was from West, I don't remember what class it was, from West Des Moines Valley. AD Brad Rose taught it. And we've become great friends, Brad and I. And I actually just got a picture from him. It's his last day of school. So he was standing out front on his porch, and it's his last day of school. So it's great. That's been a great journey to take a class of his when I was like, didn't know anything about anything. And now we've developed this great relationship, and he's on his last day of school at Valley. So it's just been neat, the relationships you develop even within the classes and the connections you make there, to be able to lean back on people later on.
Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing those experiences. And you're absolutely right. The courses are great on their own merit, but meeting people, meeting the presenters, meeting the people at your table, and also you mentioned teaching. For listeners, if you haven't taken the 790 class, that's the course that you have to take so that you can go back to your state association and begin teaching, and who knows, maybe get on the national faculty. Zach, this has been so cool. Getting to take a deeper dive into your career, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. So we're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put three things in the toolbox. So let's take that break, and we'll be right back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we did surveys for everything, for student athletes, for our coaches, for teachers, even for parents. And here's the cool thing: the information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. We still got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents that you're probably already hearing from, but it allowed us to address their concerns and usually keep them from turning into something big. But having all of that positive feedback was just so incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with one of those frustrated parents, or sometimes your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Zack Clark. Has a tremendous background as a coach, as an athletic director. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Zack, what 3 tools are going to go into your new AD toolbox?
So when I sat down and started to think about what this would look like, I kind of came up with three just keywords, and then the skills that develop off that. So the first one as a new AD, to put in your toolbox, your skill set is just listen. You're going to have 500 different people coming at you from 500 different directions with, some maybe the other AD didn't give them what they wanted on something. So they're starting on you, whether it's a coach or whether it's a parent, whether it's admin. And sometimes, and you just need to listen, because if you just let those people be heard, I think it gives them just, they'll respect you a little bit more and they know they can talk to you. And you don't always have to do what people say, but just listen to them. And then listen to what your admin is telling you they want. And listen to your coaches telling you what they need. Listen to your students telling you what they need or would like to see. And then the other time to listen is when you go to these AD conventions and you interact with other ADs. Listen to what's made them successful, I think. So just the ability to just take some time and listen and process it all, and you don't feel like you have to respond to things right away. I think you just need to be able to have the skill set to just take it all in, because you're going to want to, because there's going to be a lot coming at you. My next one was, you need to figure out how you're going to communicate, what's your best method for communication, and what's your expectation for how you want your coaches to communicate. What's your weekly communication to send out to remind people of events or how people are going to work events? How do you want coaches? What platform do you want to use to communicate department wide? What platform do you want your coaches or not want your coaches to use? And then how are you communicating with parents, kids, all the stakeholders? How are you communicating with your administration to make sure you're on the same page with them all the time? Like, what is your plan? And to be real honest, you can go in with a plan, but you got to see what works and what meshes for everybody to really, but have that in the back of your mind. Like, how do I want to communicate to make my life easier is what I would say. Because if you don't communicate, it just bogs you down and jams you up. And if people in your program don't communicate, you're the one that gets hit with the questions. So make sure your own people are communicating to who they need to communicate to. I think that was number 2 for me. And the last one is, you better be ready to hustle. And by hustle, I mean you better be ready to get up and go to work and get moving, because no one's waiting for you and no one's going to feel sorry for you. So get up and go have a great time, interact with those kids, support your coaches, hustle to make just to do what you can to make it better to leave it better than you found it, right? Hustle to provide opportunities for those kids, hustle to find extra money for your coaches for this thing they're wanting, hustle to improve yourself and your own practice, but you better wake up and you better be ready to hustle.
Boy, you probably saw me scribbling those down. I just love them. People hear me say this all the time. Listening. It was a tool that is so simple yet so important, but it's also one that I didn't use enough until later in my career. Once I finally, as I tell my coaches, just shut up and listen, I became much better at my job. And I love your theme of hustle. You mentioned earlier that the kids and the coaches in your community, there's not a feeling of entitlement, that I can feel that hustle coming. Great stuff. Thanks again for coming back on the podcast. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for inviting me to come to your conference this next spring. One more time, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more. And listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can connect with Zack Clark?
Yeah, I would say start with email and then, we can get phone numbers from there. But so my email is Zach, ZACH dot Clark, CLARK at centraldecatur.org.
Okay. Well, Zack, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best with, again, you're in Iowa, so that means summer baseball, summer softball. Hopefully, you'll get some time off. And even before March, hopefully, we're going to be able to connect this coming December at the
Yeah.
national conference down in my state here in Tampa.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited um, for you to come to Iowa. I'm excited to come to Tampa and December. I've actually already been looking at plane tickets, so I'm already thinking about that trip.
Well, if you're bringing your wife and you want to stay an extra couple days instead of going back to that Iowa winter, we don't live that far from Tampa. You can come on over and spend some time with my wife and myself.
All right, I'll ask her about that. She's a second grade teacher, so sometimes it's hard for her to escape with me, but that might have to be on the docket.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast.